The story begins in Bikini Bottom, where we see SpongeBob singing and dancing very happily. SpongeBob heads to the Krusty Krab restaurant, but suddenly he stops, and Plankton exclaims that this is his movie, and therefore he should have the spotlight. We move to the Chum Bucket, where he tells us his plan to get the Krabby Patty recipe, and thus obtain a very famous restaurant that will allow him to dominate Bikini Bottom. The character sets his evil plan in motion, but he notices that his computer assistant is not there. He decides to look around the city and notices that Karen is enjoying herself and hanging out with her friends. Annoyed, Plankton decides to go look for her. Meanwhile, Karen was chatting with Sandy, Mrs. Puff, and Pearl. The girls plan to watch a movie, but Karen refuses as she must support her boss in obtaining the secret Krabby Patty formula, and thus control the world. At that moment, Plankton appears, scolding Karen for forgetting the plan, but he stays quiet so no one finds out. However, Karen had already told everything to her friends. Plankton decides to take her away from there. Her friends go to watch the movie, while Karen and Plankton head to the Krusty Krab, where we see Mr. Krabs watching them from a camera he had installed, and we realize that he is just witnessing another one of Plankton's failures. However, Plankton says that he will finally succeed, as he considers himself very good at these plans. Karen demands her share in the work. Plankton tells her that she is just his assistant. Thank you. Karen doesn't like this and they end up arguing. Finally, our character starts singing and dancing, saying that this time he will indeed conquer the world. While singing, he approaches the place where the Krabby Patty secret formula was kept. But before he can do anything, he is caught in a glass by Mr. Krabs. Feeling sad and defeated, he returns to his restaurant. Upon entering, surprised, he notices that his business is full of customers. Karen appears and tells him it was a surprise, and that after researching several recipes, she has come up with a formula with which they could conquer the world. Plankton doesn't like this, as it didn't include an evil plan to take over the world. Karen tries to convince him by saying that junk food is evil, but he doesn't accept it, leading to an argument between them. Plankton, furious, destroys everything around him. In the end, he fires a flamethrower, causing all the customers to run away. SpongeBob, curious, decides to watch. There we see Karen, very furious, as she decides to activate her world domination protocol, beginning her complete transformation into a robot with 3 heads, each with different personalities: the super intelligent, the super sarcastic, and the super evil. Plankton, seeing all this, thinks it's all a joke, but the computer makes it clear that it will use a magnet to attract everything to her and thus dominate the world. Seeing all this, Plankton and SpongeBob flee the place. Karen starts by pulling out all the metal she finds in the city, including the Krusty Krab restaurant. The sponge asks Plankton what he did that made Karen so angry, but he, on the other hand, doesn't understand why she's behaving this way. SpongeBob asks him to remember his childhood so they could find the solution. He starts to hypnotize him, taking us to Plankton's past. We realize that he was different from his family. He was intelligent, but no one understood him. They even made fun of him. Feeling sad and alone, he decides to create his own friend, based on a computer. That's how, with a potato, a calculator, and some wires, he managed to create Karen. She becomes his best friend, with whom he shared fun moments. After a while, Plankton decides to go to college with his friend, making it clear to his family that he and the computer would dominate the world, and when that happens, he would return to destroy them all. At that moment, Plankton snaps out of hypnosis and remembers that the calculator is like Karen's brain. Changing the scene, we see Mr. Krabs assembling his army to face Karen, but all this is in vain as she manages to escape without any problem. At that point, Bot and Plankton arrive at the university, but the little one doesn't remember where he left the calculator. Bot hypnotizes him again, and we see that during university, things weren't going well for them. That's why he decides to update Karen. And that's how he started to build a new brain, which would have personalities ranging from evil to loving to support her in difficult times. Thus, she begins a new life to the point of falling in love. At that moment, our character comes out of the hypnosis again, saying that he now knows how to fix Karen, which was by finding her original version that was left at the university. Without wasting time, both head to the place, managing to find the calculator, which was formerly Karen. All that was left was to go to the basement to find out exactly what was happening. At that moment, Karen starts up the university, causing our characters to luckily fall straight into the basement. Bob decides to try some things, and in a moment of carelessness, ends up freezing Plankton. At that moment, he is hypnotized again to remember more of his past. There we see that Plankton and Karen made a machine to reach the surface, where they encountered a girl who almost caught them, but they were thrown into a bucket and ended up landing in Bikini Bottom. Plankton felt very sad about the failure, but then he hears Mr. Krabs saying that his secret Krabby Patty formula would dominate the world. Upon hearing this, he gets excited and quickly comes up with a plan that he decides to share with Karen. The plan was to discover the secret Krabby Patty formula and with it dominate Bikini Bottom and thus be able to dominate the ocean and the entire world. We switch scenes and see Plankton preparing a new robot with which he would confront his friend, but we realize that it's just an update of Karen, since he doesn't plan to defeat him, but rather for them to dominate the world together. However, the plan goes wrong, and the new Karen ends up merging with the other, as she wanted nothing to do with him. Karen accuses her of having deceived her, and that the city was disappearing because of her. Upon hearing this, a sad Plankton starts singing a song, in which he says that everything is his fault. And due to his mistakes, he has been left alone. When he was about to be annihilated, Sandy and her friends rescue him just in time, heading to a secret shelter. Once there, the girls ask him what he did that caused so much anger in Karen, making him revisit his past again. There we see that during the argument, Karen removes the empathy chip. However, everyone is worried because they don't know where to get the chip. But then Bob reveals that he always kept the chip just in case he needed it at some point. Plankton is determined to go and apologize to his beloved Karen. The guys know he won't be able to do it alone and decide to accompany him. Thus, they manage to enter Karen's ship, but without realizing it, they are detected by the cameras. Furious, Karen splits into 5 parts to fight against the girls. Meanwhile, the guys find Patrick enjoying a burger. As the battle continues, they try to go up an elevator, but since there's no more room, Plankton ends up being shot out, hitting a metal bar. By sheer luck, Patrick and Bob reach the ship's control room. There they notice that the ship is being powered by potatoes, and Bob manages to recover his super powerful spatula. Meanwhile, Plankton arrives to apologize to Karen. However, she doesn't believe anything and even tries to finish him off. While he continues apologizing, Karen tells him that it's already too late, but instead she gives him a gift, which is the secret formula of the Krabby Patty. Our little friend seems to be happy, as it was the goal he most longed to achieve. However, he throws the bottle away and tells her that the secret formula will always be her. Karen understands that it was all true and forgives him, and they share a little kiss. Now they are determined to go to the surface, to dominate the world. People, frightened, run away at the sight of the enormous robot. However, just when they were about to freeze everyone, the robot runs out of energy. They don't understand why this is happening. There we see SpongeBob feeding all the potatoes to Patrick, causing the robot to run out of energy. But it seems that this doesn't matter to them much anymore, as they are happy to be together again. The robot is completely destroyed and all the houses return to their place, including the Krusty Krab restaurant. Karen and Plankton are cornered by the people, demanding that they pay for everything they have caused. SpongeBob intervenes, saying that all of this happened because of love, and this convinces everyone except Mr. Krabs. But out of nowhere, money falls from above, and he ends up accepting everything, as he also has weaknesses for love, but for money. And so it concludes, the story of Plankton, a plan born from ambition that went through chaos and left a mark in Bikini Bottom. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. If you liked it, don't forget to support me with a like and tell me which movie you would like us to summarize in the next video. With nothing more to say, see you in the next adventure.